George planned
Oh, okay.
our lives, so I
Where's
think,
the
yeah.
added? Oh, okay. Maybe I just need to add our title.
Loud, everything aloud.
Oh, here we go. Yay. Okay, here we are. Hi, everyone.
I don't know if we want
What's
to
up?
Hi.
voices.
Welcome to Everything Allowed. And I'm going to actually turn off my Facebook, but we're actually on Facebook. But it is so exciting to be here with everyone. And what happens is we are all seen only if we're speaking. So what I'd like to do is if you're not speaking, please turn off your microphone. And what this is poetry reading. And we're gonna, in order to have us find out all about it, let's have Marianne Murray, the kind of fearless leader of our poetry group, tell us what's happening and what the group's all about and
Sure.
everything like that. Thanks,
Hey
Marianne.
there, everyone. Yeah, so amazingly, we've been meeting for 3 years. Yeah, pretty impressive. And I think Richard is the one person from the very first day who has been here, religiously ever since. But yeah, so I look at it as a generative process for building poems and getting better at making decisions with poetry. So we write every day and we send our poems to our partner. Our partners change from week to week. And we give them feedback on their poems and they give them their feedback on, our poems, my poem. And it's just I feel like it's just a great group for exploring ideas. I feel like I've learned things from the New York poets because you guys write long pieces and I've been writing longer pieces as a consequence. So it has inspired me and yeah, I hope you guys have been inspired too. So anyhow,
Well,
that's
absolutely.
all I have to say.
We definitely have been inspired. It's been so exciting. And what I'm going to do is I'll go ahead and run the hosting since I've got it here. There goes Peter. And I'm going to run the hosting. And what we'll do is go in alphabetical order, except for Peter is going to be not. He's ready to go first. He will be coming along soon. And also we're just waiting for Kalina, who should be here in a minute. And then we're going to go in alphabetical order through our group. We have 12 fabulous readers. Everybody is just so good. And when you write every day, it's just an amazing thing. You end up with 365 poems in the year, which is incredible. And, some of them are going to be great and some of them are going to be maybe not so great. All of them require editing because that's what poets do. And, what's fantastic is to see the great work that comes out. It started during COVID and it's just become something I really can't live without. So, with no further ado, I'm going to introduce our first reader, none other than Peter Carlaftes. Take it away, Peter.
Hey, look at that. She's giving me the spotlight here. Hello, everybody. All my daily friends out there and anybody else who's interested in poetry. So I'm going to read this one I wrote with Jane this week, the other day. Something I think I wrote a short story about it 40 years ago, but I don't think I had written any kind of poem. So I'm going to just go. So many ifs. I changed the title. It's not one of our prompts. Okay, so many ifs. I could only buy a quarter ounce of pot that fateful day, though it was payday, and I normally bought more. So when the guy I hardly knew showed up knocking at my trailer door looking for pot, I told him no. And when the guy drove off, a kid came running in screaming that the pigs were coming, and he threw 2 joints in my kitchen garbage can as the pigs broke in the front door, just like he said, while I was flushing the quarter ounce down the toilet. The pigs grabbed the 2 joints and put me in cuffs, and off I went to Pittsylvania County Jail without seeing a magistrate or getting a phone call, and did nothing but sit around playing casino with a guy who called me Yank. In fact, my arrest warrant stated, name of which person can be identified, Bronx, New York. There were four smaller 2-bunk cells you walked past when you came in, each with a toilet, and a bigger cell with 8 bunks in the back with only 1 can in the shower, of which the next to last lower was mine. Killing time playing casino and handing a jailer a slip of paper with my buddy's phone number written down on it each time one went by. I'd ask, please call that number and tell them I'm here. Sure, hoss, each would answer and probably toss the thing once out of sight. Apparently nobody knew I was there. Well, I hardly knew anybody in Danville, Virginia, and had gone there because I knew a guy, Ronnie, who had got me a job paying $80 per week, outdoor work in the summer in the South. But it was better than the Bronx right then because I'd run into some trouble with a few wrong guys. Tough times now, too, since these crackers must have thought I was some kind of mob guy or something. And there I was in a county jail. But the food was great. 3 squares a day, grits every morning, barbecue chicken, meatloaf, good stuff. Sometimes something to help carry a guy counting seconds. On the weekends, the drunk slept on the floor in the back room, in my room, and on Sundays, a girl gospel choir showed up at 7 sharp, and a white preacher spoke around 9. The racial makeup of the place was pretty much 50-50, half black, half white. One of the guys in the back had a small black and white TV sitting outside the bars, and which the jailers would adjust when requested. The story was that this particular inmate, a black guy, was being groomed to turn in his friends. So they gave him a TV and catered to his needs. So the TV, my second Sunday afternoon, had Treasure of the Sierra Madre on, my favorite movie. And I talked everybody into watching it then. And then afterwards, the majority of viewers that saw it were upset that Tim Holt and Walter Houston were laughing at the end after losing all their gold. Then on my 17th day, Ronnie came in and got me the fuck out. And I placed a small bag and I packed a small bag and hitched right out of town, back to the bosom of the Bronx where my troubles were settled. In fact, one of the cops who had busted my door down for 2 joints the kid left in my trash can drove by me with my thumb out and waved goodbye with a smile. Guess I'm lucky I got out of that jail at all. And now when I close my eyes and think about that stretch of time, the first thing I see is the food. The second is the little splotch of grass between buildings you could see out the window that proved more existed than whatever shitstorm you were in there inside. I had a few and many more along the way trying to ditch the hatred in my heart, which mid to late 70s, most everybody had. All right. Okay, I'm moving on. True story. They locked my ass up 17 days. Okay, I'm going to read this one because I think it's funny. That's kind of, let's get rid of masculinity. It should just be erased. But until then, this is a funny parody of that same masculinity. 2 scoops, please. This was one of our prompts. I went to this fancy schmancy Hollywood party where there were bowls of pure cocaine the owner was dishing out. So when my turn came, I smiled, 2 scoops, please. The owner scowled, sorry, none for you. I shot back, why me? Do I remind you of someone who banged your girlfriend in a bathroom once? He answered, something like that. I postured, what if I told you I did bang her and she said that you were better? He cackled, I was only kidding. Do all the coke you want. I repeated, 2 scoops, please. We laughed and laughed. Then I broke out a gold-plated straw. The hostess straw was real gold. Like she had said, he really was better. And then I'm going to finish up with General Strike. This was also one of our, but I took it a different direction. General Strike. Back in the day when I was a boy with a uniform trimmed in gold, General Strike was my hero. General Strike stood for winning ways as a strategist in the field. Plus, he treated each soldier equally with discipline and praise. All in all, General Strike was a leader to follow the grave, which is sadly what happened to most of his troops when he surrendered one morning, then blew out his brains. The bravest and sternest, yet tempered with mercy, had buckled and broken for naught. So faithful for decades of service, if ever an ending were needed, it's now. And that's my ending. So General Strike, goodbye. Get off the face of the earth. He's gone. All right, let's go on without general strike, except there may be a real general strike. All right, Kat's coming back.
Hi. So glad to be back. That was great, Peter. Thank you so much.
All right.
All right. Oh, look, I'm next. Okay.
Kat's next. I gotta go.
Wow. It's so exciting. So, again, this is poetry created during the past year as a result of our daily poetry writing group. A loose knit group of people who write every day. So here's some that I'm gonna read. This one's called Fire. I was born with fire inside, a blaze in the world the second I leapt from the womb. Tone it down, they say, too loud, too fierce, as if the world is a place of benign rapture where soundless meditation resolves all the problems of the day. I've been hushed only to witness my ideas and inspiration crushed before they form. They'd offer me solutions, more sex, more sleep, more pills. But I am fire, brilliant, burning, not a cigarette to be crushed out, not a doll to maintain silence, not an agreeable sponge, all intake, no flame. I pull the sun into its human form and spit out heat, illumination. When I sit in quiet reverie, I wear a do not disturb sign. My core is molten. I live to burn. Ooh. All right. Here's one on the state of affairs. It's a gas. Maybe climate change could be reversed if people would just shut up once in a while. So much hot air. This morning, pre-dawn, down by the river, a tall man in business casual attire stalks by screaming into his phone at some unseen colleague. A few decades ago, people would have called him a nutcase. Now he can claim he's multitasking, overachieving, type A personality executive about to make bank on his next major international takeover. His role models are a cross between Trump and Real Housewives. He's Ugly American 2.0, the epitome of late stage capitalism. And he is blowing out so much hot air, I'm pouring sweat 10 minutes after he disappears. The next door neighbor leans out the window to scream into his phone. In the park, a woman screams into her phone at her gynecologist. On television, at the ball game, on a plane, at a Broadway play, people can't shut up anymore. If you do dial down the mouth diarrhea, watch out. The other day, a friend went to Carnegie Hall for a concert featuring Mozart's Requiem in D minor. After the seemingly respectful audience immediately stood to cheer and whistle as if their team had just won the World Series. People are unable to act like they aren't the star of some new reality show. Every emotion overemphasized, every thought spoken loudly. It's a gas, all this CO2 in the form of banal bursts of public high volume idiotic yays and nays. Bring back the good old days when everyone smoked. Give me the quiet kill, the hazy belief that there is no tomorrow. And I wanted to read this one because we're on Zoom. It relates to that. The day the world fell on its knees and asked, I keep waiting for the world to fall on its knees and ask my forgiveness for all the lousy things it's done to me. Finally, we set up a Zoom meeting. The world showed up late as usual, couldn't get the video to work, and kept leaving itself on mute, which gave me a lot of time to rant about my grievances. Power-hungry fascists ruining the planets, relentless thirst for obscene wars, prices that make it necessary to work insane hours to get by, intolerance among the masses for differences of opinions, the recent death of so many close friends, the hard gamble for love that fails so often. The world finally got off mute and spoke. Look, I don't make the rules, it stammered. Yes, you do. You're the world. Okay, well, you got me there. How about you just smoke some weed, have a few drinks, and stop caring like everyone else? I almost threw up. You can't be serious. Yeah, well, no, but it sounded good, right? No. Any other ideas? The world was just about to reveal a list of ideas that would increase joy, save the planet, and make my life more tolerable when a solar storm took down the internet in the entire US, plus Europe, Asia, and Australia. They used artificial intelligence to get things working again, and from that point on, the machines took over, deleting the files of us, one soul at a time. I never lost hope for a second that things would get better. Not until the last. Okay, and I'll read two more. Hold on, sorry. Some days I don't want to get up. A lot of these are prompts that we share during the course of the week, so you'll hear variations because everybody writes a different response to the prompt. Some days I don't want to get up. In the dream, I fly in soft, warm air, float above dirty streets and broken people, drift on smooth currents toward the sea, to an island out there of friends and lovers where the only electricity is the shared charge of being so aware and alive that each moment expands with infinite creative possibility. And the people leave you alone when you need to be left alone. And the food is abundant. And the only predator is your own mind, which sometimes often, longs for the excitement and annoyances of a former life, craves a shot of tequila, a steak and baked potato, a phone bill, the thrill of finding $1 on a cracked sidewalk. This is when the dream ends. Maybe it's the early morning shafting radiance, the way it crawls between the blinds, laser cuts your somnambulant hallucinations, urges you to consciousness. Welcome to the stupor of the light. The affairs of the day embrace me now like a creepy uncle. My, how you've grown. Give us a kiss. Okay, and let's do one more. And this is about poetry in general. This is way back from January. Gloves off. Gloves off when the poem begins. Don't let it loiter against the ropes, hoping this round will end soon. This is a battle to the finish. No judges to pay off, no taking a dive for the mob. Gloves off and stop dancing. The crowd loves blood, but what do they know? It's you in the ring, not them. So stare down that poem in the eye and figure out where its weakness lies. Then gloves off and let's get bare-knuckled about this. Is this a poem about love or lust? Air kissing, tongues down each other's throats? Or is this a full-on fuck me poem, stilettos and crotchless pantyhose, the cat o' nine tails in the corner, the extra spice should the need arise? If this is a poem about war, gloves off, show me the eyes of the women, the screams of the vox populi reveal the first words of the child who's seen his family blown to bits. If this is a poem about nothing, make it a giant nothing, a blank canvas so large it fills avenues and cannot be photographed in whole by one of the 6.5 billion smartphones, only 1 billion short for every person on the planet. Make me know what nothing is and how nothing itself exists, proving once and for all that nothing is never nothing, that every life is worth something, every stray thought has its value, every breath carries the motherload of possibility. Take that, and that, and that, you scum. Right jab, left cross, right hook, uppercut. This poem feels every punch, but in the end, when the bell rings, it won't be me hitting the deck, eyes rolling back while the ref counts to 10, then raises my arm, winner. This girl's out of here with another KO. See you at the after party if I go. Thank you very much. I'm Kat Georges, and now we are moving along to our next reader, which is Matthew Hupert.
Hello. Hello.
Hi, Matthew.
How are you? Now, I would say we're a tight group of loose people, but that's a different.
I like
Anyway,
it.
I'm going to try to shove a bunch of poetry in here, so I'm just
All right.
jumping in. This
Go.
first one is called Yesterday's Party and the Cycle of Life. I think the world can be sorted by how one responds to Tonight's gourmet dinner is tomorrow morning's shit. Does that make you melancholy, bemoaning temporality in the kingdom of death where love is impermanent and everyone eventually goes alone and maybe, just maybe, meaning can be created? But is it even worth the effort? Because in the end, the only smile that remains is a skull-frozen grimace in rigor. Or maybe you think, how marvelous this meal, manifest in this moment, in the endless cycle from and to shit. And how fabulous to remember again the balance of spices and glances over wine-brimming glasses to shit. And remember that to shit is to live brilliantly manifest in this holy moment, miraculous from shit and to shit returned. And that's a blessing. Thank you. And this next one is called Advice to a Young Poet. Write in the sun, edit in the AC, perform in a bar. Write with searing skin in your pulse Ahsoka beat, edit with your ear, perform in a bar. Write while getting high, edit while straight. Maybe someone in the bar will buy you a drink. Thank you. And here's I think probably the longest one of the set. It's called Annapurna Memory, Illy Gilly Rows a Boat. This friend of mine's been on my mind all week. So Annapurna Memory, Illy Gilly Rows a Boat. Gil had been a brilliant artist, dead from his own neglect, far too young. But before that, before the self-destruction, before the Rikers, before we were fully formed, we went to Nepal before we were 30. In those days, we were fiercely individualist anarchists. We thought libertarianism would be a sane place to horseshoe before we saw it fall into corporatism, as it must. Young enough to believe people were smart enough, kind enough for anarchy. We were in the Annapurna Range, narco tourists in Pokhara, on Pua Lake canoeing. Illy Gilly often preached, a true believer, that you couldn't really help anyone else, one of our many sticking points, but I digress. Already ashore, I watched Gil's canoe head towards the spillway, slipping faster than he could steer away. And I waited, as only a friend can do, watching hubris turn to wide eyes as lake water rolled over the dam. Gil was my brother in every meaningful way. My most brilliant, most problematic, most hard-headed friend. We met last year of high school or first year of college. Who can remember so long ago? Sometimes inseparable, sometimes mad silent for months at a time. Finally, on a Captain Kirk countdown clock, I walked to the narrow point of the channel, grabbed the back of his canoe with one hand, the other offered to help him ashore. What the fuck were you waiting for? I didn't want to intrude on your sovereign self-ownership after hearing for hours how no one can help. He didn't reply, but the lecture stopped, and maybe the meaning may have gotten in. I don't know. I miss him. Thank you. A poem for Anansi. I was trying to write a poem about a spider, but couldn't find an image to detangle. I thought about spidery things, like legs and webs and struggling flies. I thought about spidery words, like crawl and scuttle along the tongue, like tarantula and arachnid, spinneret and silk. I thought about spiders and stories, spiders and folktales, allegorical spiders, metaphorical spiders, mythical spiders, Utu, Arachne, Charlotte, Anansi. And still the poem would not flow. The words all webbed up in my head, struggling to free themselves. When the sun broke through the clouds, there, shimmering under the dogwood tree, was a spider web, iridescent dancing in the breeze. I settled in to watch it and forgot all about the poem. All right, moving on. Okay, two sad ones. Let's get those out of the way. Studies found that having a light dusting of discarded skin in your home were associated with lower levels of ozone indoors. That's the title. We lose 500 million skin cells every day, slowly shedding ourselves into dust. And so still you remain behind the potted plant, under the sofa, deep in the cracks and crevices of my floorboards, lying softly on a picture frame, no longer looked at, in every corner and window pane. No amount of vacuuming will ever sweep what's left behind away. And this is a very recent one. This is from last week. Empty slots in a day planner. Look me up sometime after you've cycled through this love or the next. If the universe hasn't taken me yet, as is its wont to do, we can raise a glass to old time, and I'll pretend it doesn't still hurt. I won't say there are wounds one doesn't heal from, just learns to live with, and say instead, it was good to see you. Thank you. All right, now as the people in this room know, I have a real love for tiny little gems of poems, so here are a few of those. Every hummingbird looking in the waterhole sees a different sky. Goodbyes, like cooling air unable to hold summer rain. I'd rather the smell of her stinky feet than this bacon and coffee breakfast eaten alone. I'm yours for a song, if the song is well sung. I'm easy, not cheap. And this one's called Stardate, tumbling from one gravity well to another. There are more atoms in your mouth than stars across the sky, and I want to explore every solar system in your lips. All right, two more. Oops, that's the same one again. That would not be two more. This is called Sisyphus Leaves Camus Behind. I'm so done with tearing my nails while I claw out from my chest only to have my heart roll back down that hill. Sorry, Albert, I don't imagine Sisyphus happy anymore. Today, I'll imagine him letting the rock roll where it may, with a deft leap to the left and over the crest he'll go, the lub-dub of the boulder roll, a diminuendo in time. He'll see new vistas unhidden that had been just a leap away since forever. And last one, before I read, I just want to say, this group is fucking amazing. I love all y'all so much. You maintain my sanity in ways you will never imagine. And I hope I do a little something for y'all back because, man. All right. This is called When Life Came to Life. My son came home broad-shouldered, suddenly a man. And when he hugged me, hello, I remembered hugs and touches receding in time to when the nurse first placed him in my arms for his first hug. And then even further to the hugs my father fed me on, like a string of pearls endlessly extended, and I thought, this is holy. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Matthew. Hupert. Wow, so beautiful. And it's amazing what this group does. And your poetry is, as everybody's poetry, is just testament to that. All right. So we are moving on to our next person. It is a poet, another
LeCroy.
poet from New York, Jane LeCroy. Hi, Jane. How are you?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Alrighty. Well, I am so loving seeing your faces and hearing your poems from your mouths. Oh my gosh. Seriously, I agree with Matthew. You've no idea how sane you keep me. I mean, you know, that's an exaggeration. I'm not sane. These are all from our prompts because, I've edited them and I really appreciate you inspire me so much, all of you. Thank you for your encouragement. Fly me far away. I said to the streets that shuffled me along their cobbles like a strange wheel, bumping, rolling a good time on a dark, cold night alone, because I never thought it would be so hard to get regular hot sex when I was a healthy girl with a warm smile who's good at listening to problems and dumb jokes and the same stories over and over without complaining. But it turns out big hunger gets you hungrier. And I broke a lot of hearts and dicks and drained the chi. So I begged the streets to put me in the sky and fly me far away. But the streets laughed and said that I was far out enough, so I should just stay in this famous city where I know the hosts of the artsy parties and get fancy invitations to birthdays and shows where I get to be practically naked and never apologize for my loud voice and sharp tongue that scares a lot of horses. And when they gallop away, I can just jump onto the big animal and we'll get to the green of the Kentucky Derby where they'll all appreciate my hat and my style. So gamble away on the horses with the best names, because a good life is just a poem you write with good words and a good order, and whatever is good, you get to define for yourself. Don't look at their dictionaries. Their dictionaries are their own, and you never get to be fluent in anyone else's tongue unless you are deeply kissing them. And only then, for those few moments, because even the longest kisses are still not so long as the poems about kisses. Those get to last forever. The kiss never lasts forever, but the poem does. Art is the longest action you can take. Poems are the cobbles that bring a horse to you and get you to the place where you can gamble based on names. And there you have the religion of the people in America that are all mixed up and stirring the world and breaking the hearts and the dicks, draining the chi. And you can never get far enough away so that it stops hurting. But you get the poems and make books if you're lucky. Thank goodness for the copy machine and staples. Gallop the stapler along those spines that make the gutter of books and get your poetry out there. So that's number one for my poets, obviously, because you encourage me. In these dark times, thinking about the world, and like my day can be pretty good, but then so many days are so deadly. How do we hold such conflicting feelings? Where we belong. Where do I belong if not here? This water, this city, this part of the world where I've always been, as an explorer, a pilgrim, a native. I belong nowhere, never fit in my hometown, never moved far away. Went far from here and always came back, never fitting any place. Born here, gave birth here, die a little every day here. All along. Can't take credit for anything, but take lots of blame. I swim in these waters and walk these streets and lay on these leaves of grass and concrete and dirt and sand. See this place change and change me. And where do you belong? Where do any of us in this country belong? After all this fighting and stealing and hurting and trying, what are we making? After all we've done wrong, where do we belong? What do we belong to? Death's loop. All the innocent babies turn into grown, sorry people. Sad about this story, mad and grateful, so grateful. We're crying and imagining what's next, and we're disappointed, terrified, and hopeful. The table's full of food and hunger. The good stuff is always at the bottom. The years just slip by like a stone that skips across the water and sinks down after jump, jump, jump. Count them. You got to get at least 3 for it to count, but I've seen as many as 7. It felt like such a high, like you hit the jackpot, all double cherries and bags of money. The trees applause in the breeze, leaves clapping in the wind, birds gone crazy singing like they saw it and understood what it meant to skip a stone. Find a good flat one. one that feels nice against the thumb. You want it smooth and heavy as a fingerling potato or a pair of safety scissors from school. You'll know the weight is right when you hold it in your hand. Just feel it. Do it by feel, experience. Don't listen to me. I'm just giving you a bunch of words, and you need stones to skip across the water like Jesus, like that plane that crash landed on the Hudson and nobody died, like that water bug that steps across the meniscus like it's a highly polished dance floor in Harlem during the Renaissance. Like, it's going to sink. No matter how many skips you get, the stone sinks. The jackpot causes a new set of hardship. And Jesus up on the cross, the water bug in the bird's beak, and the survivors of the plane crash are still going to die. Leaves just keep clapping till they all fall off. Then the branches whistle in the cold wind. The dancers all go home, and the Renaissance gives way to more dark ages. Just remember, when you're at the bank, in the mud, and the stone sinks, you think it's over, but the good stuff is always at the bottom. Blood sport. I know you guys are recognizing these. This one's fresh. Are you fresh? I'm a little fresh. You will get hurt. You are sharp. A knife, a tongue. You said such horrible things. Sorry. Stitches train track your palms, and if you look close, all your skin. You will be on top of the world and fall so far down, a whole different world down. You will lose everything. Your hair, your most beloved clothes, your face, manuscript, bridge, home. You will realize you have more to lose. Your files, your children, your photographs, your favorites. You will find things. Your true origin story, maybe your yearbook full of apologies and praise written by hand, will surface. Maybe you'll get something better. A love that stays even after you kicked it in the gut with your poems. You came to the amusement park to ride the rides, not to cover your ears sitting on a bench cursing the lines and the prices. Empty your pockets. Spend it all. Your ice cream will tip or melt or be devoured if you're lucky. There is no saving ice cream. You fall and break open over again. Blood comes out. Ulnar entrapment. The wounds heal and scars fade, so new ones can wreck your tender flesh, rewrite you, edit, cross you out. You dissociate. You don't disappear. When you are a ghost, your favorite outfit will come back to your plasma body, and you'll say all the things you didn't know how to say when you lived with your lover who banished you. You'll get to dance forever with ones who really wanted you and showed what desire is capable of after the honeymoon. Why do we want what hurts us? Remember, you're born in a pool of blood. Life is blood sport, and so is love. All right, and one more for you kids. A day that tasted like burgundy wine. That Victorian row house deep in Brooklyn that rich people hired you to get back into fancy condition sure was a nice place to meet a few times, only kind of breaking and entering. Even though it was really far out in Brooklyn and freezing in February, you were so great to buy that bath bomb that turned the hot bath black. I pictured you choosing it in a shop, and my heart swelled with love to imagine a big man like you sniffing bath bombs and thinking about our night and how to make the most out of our time and the place. I appreciate you. It didn't make sense that you gave me a hard time about pissing in the toilet because you wanted to keep the bathroom clean, while you put the delicious black water into that clawfoot tub that wasn't really big enough for both of us. Though we had a great time squeezing in, except for the drain, had no plug, but we did our best. I believe we always did our best. And next time we met there, I remembered about the drain and I brought the rubber cover from the corner hardware store near my faraway home in another borough, and you brought expensive Barbera, and I'm sorry I knocked some over in the living room, splashing the white painted fireplace. You were so angry at me and named the high price of my accident over and over until I almost cried. We cleaned it up fast. I felt terrible and thanked you for putting up with me. We had to keep the lights off because we were not really allowed to be there, and that made it exciting but difficult to navigate. Earlier, I made a ruckus because I tripped on 2x4s piled on the floor, but it was so dark I thought they were beams of moonlight. I'd never been there before in the light the way you had. You lectured me and reprimanded me with wild frustration. You yelled at me for my mistakes like I wasn't trying my best, but I was. I tried so hard to be good enough. I have too much exuberance and frenetic energy. But I found out there are people who laugh when I spill wine, and they think it's adorable that I think solid things are moonbeams. And when I trip, they ask if I'm okay instead of yell at me. And we drink Burgundy, and I want to share it with you, even though I spilled some Barbera once. I can forgive you because I love you, no matter you make mistakes. Thanks,
All
kids.
right.
I
Jane
appreciate you so
LeCroy.
much.
Wow, that was beautiful, Jane. Thank you.
Gosh, thank you.
Is this your first year in the group, or were you here last year as well?
I started in November last year. So,
Okay.
you know,
Right.
really the first year.
All right. Well,
I'm
congratulations on
so
doing
grateful.
great work. All
Thank
right. Thank you. Okay, next up we have one of the original members, I believe. Dan Liberthson, is that true? Or were you at the very beginning, from the very beginning?
I was close to the beginning, not exactly in the beginning, but close enough for jazz.
Okay, well, here you go. Go ahead and take it away, Dan. All right.
Okie doke. I'm going to read a number of shorter ones. The first being, why, if ever, would you want to be cast naked into a world more threat than wonder? Would you take the gambit, hazard the spill of the dice? Of course not. That's why you were given no choice. You had to come in order to arrive. You had to arrive in order to be, or not. Turning 75. The darkest cave sucks at my feet. Life's nearly over, no repeat. What monster tentacled lurks there where I will go, if anywhere? Death will grab me by the hair. There's little left, none to spare, and take me someplace off the map. What I thought life is just a trap.
Mm-mm.
I'm like a mouse who nibbles cheese beneath the hinge that some small breeze will spring to let the hard bar fall that snaps my neck and ends it all. Death woos, but do I quiver, quake? No. Despite the mounting aches, I'll keep nibbling, sweet with joy, until death whacks her little boy. Your feet's too big. You may recognize a line from a Fats Waller song. I, Godzilla, rampage good, but please let this be understood. It's for your sake I grr and stomp, not for mine. This ain't no romp. I stub my toes on your skyscrapers, breathe air foul with toxic vapors, climb on rubble heaped up high, watch your orphans howl and cry. It hurts me in my deepest being, all this mayhem that you're seeing. Really, I'm a tender guy. I tromp your cities teary-eyed. Why do it then, you cry? Let me tell you now just why. It's so perhaps you'll realize life doesn't come in just one size. There are big ones just like me, and the small, they're like y'all. But you little ones get mad and scorch. You put your neighbors to the torch. And that's what gets us biggies going, thrashing tails and flame throwing, to show you what will happen if you let your rage loose. Stupid stiffs. Don't pay attention to what you're doing. Wreck it all with hatred brewing, just because you're little guys who would be big. No surprise. You'd all like to be powered up and get your way no matter what. But I'm what happens if you do. Your need to conquer conquers you. In passing, the relentless profusion of days, seeming endless but all too finite, gladness becomes sadness as each blooms and withers, and the next undeniably fills its place, a one-by-one garden wasting toward winter. Hours, metronome slices of time, mount, then cascade from the peak, gliding down the smooth back of noon to pool in the enameled wash basin of the past. More hours stand in line, move up, one by one, like weary shoppers at a sale. For some, certain special times hold back the turnstile, holly and ivy, lily and iris. A space of rest banks the downhill flow, so for a window, folks find peace. If they can stop to celebrate their being, let aliveness well and fill the cup. I've been a bystander, never a believer in the seasonal rituals of birth and rebirth. Yet this abstention allows a sense of space beside these holy moments, often denied those obligated to observe them fully. From time's bleak garden, I borrow a rose. A real live nightmare. As a child, you were dead right. There were monsters under the bed. Cocooned in dark eggs of night, they were real, just waiting for some crucial future time to hatch out and eat your brain, crumple up your sweet life like soiled paper, and casually toss it into the trash. No recycling, just detritus, like any other ordinary soul not rich enough to be saved. Decision trees. If you have free will, you must exercise it. Aye, there's the rub. You must choose which way to move, which path to take through the branching trees, across the lake of possibilities, wind-stirred, cross-clashing. That is your life. The choice seldom black or white, but subtle shifting tones of gray. And if you are really smart, you see always both sides, each with something to recommend, but don't try for both at once or you'll drown. Intelligence is a partial curse, my mother said. You always understand the other point of view, all perspectives. The pros and cons you write on your line decision sheet will cancel out and leave no direction but exactly where you are, static, tormented. That's why Jimmy Durante wrote, did you ever get the feeling that you wanted to go, but still had the feeling that you wanted to stay? And that's why, time and time again, I've found myself lost in a decision maze, butting into corners, hoping something wonderful or terrible will save me. I never wrote that letter. So write a letter, Mom would say when Dad fetched about the government. Maybe I will, he replied, but never did. They knew from the long history of immigrant Jews, nothing they could do would change a thing. Best keep your head down and hope the latest abuse would blow over as all the others had, if you just waited long enough. Second generation, indignant teen, you'd never do anything, I'd rail. Talk, talk is all. You never take a chance, stick out one of your precious necks. I'll send a letter and demonstrate, too. They eyed me alarmed and a bit amused. Stick your neck out in Russia and you might lose your head or get sent to Siberia long enough to cool down. I bubbled with exasperation and yelled, it's America. They don't do that here. Alarm became dismay. Faces grim. Mom hesitated, lips starting to part. Words reined in. as she gathered courage. Not yet, she blurted, eyes widening. Let's see, how am I doing time-wise? Got room for one more medium length?
One more is good.
Okay. The best laid plans. The survey taker calls and brightly asks if you're satisfied with the life you are leading. You pause, ponder, and answer that you had it all worked out, everything would fall into place, but then you stepped wrong and instead toppled off into space. Wildly floundering, swimming in nothingness, you ask, what happened? How did my plan get sidetracked? And I switched into someone else's life, no one recognizable as the me I intended. In the mirror, I look the same, but where is this divergent place I never sought or imagined? When this wild fear mounts and you feel like a cat stuck far up in a tree with no roots, never to get home where you should be, then ask yourself, this isn't ideal, but is it so bad? And if the answer is no, I can live with it, in it, keep breathing and walking till the end. Don't know who I am, but never did, only who I thought I'd be. Then, like the cat in the tree rescued by a fireman calmly calling it back to earth, which doesn't know it's a cat, but still pads about and purrs, you'll realize that you need only let yourself be whatever you are. Sniff the air, probe past any door ajar, and live more while you're living. By this time, the survey taker has lost all hope of ticking off even the first question. You hear a sigh, and the line goes dead. Thank y'all.
All right, thank you, Dan Liberthson. So nice to hear you and see you.
Yes.
It's fantastic. All
Yeah, I
right,
think it's me. If it's not me, it's a clever imposter.
there you go. Great work. Thank you so much. All right.
Oh, you're welcome.
So,
Thanks for all the encouragement over these, 3 years now?
yeah, can you believe it? Amazing. All right. So, we have now reached our halfway point, and our next reader has also been around since I first started the group. It's Bonnie Markowski. Hey,
Hi
Bonnie.
guys.
And
Hi.
where are you coming to us from?
I'm from northeastern Pennsylvania where it was 0 degrees this morning.
Ouch.
All right.
Brr.
Yeah. Okay, well, take it away, Bonnie.
Okay, well, my first poem I wrote on November 6th, and it will probably be obvious. To our daughters, I'm sorry that sons will continue to matter more. I'm sorry that you are still going to be assaulted with explanations you already know. I'm sorry that you still have less rights than a gun. I'm sorry that your piece of the pie is still a crumb. I'm sorry that you will still be fodder for the male gaze. I'm sorry that what you wear will still make you a target. I'm sorry that you are going to be protected whether you like it or not. I'm sorry that the rape joke is still funny. I'm sorry that Gilead has become a real place. I'm sorry that the color of your skin will still matter. I'm sorry that you still may never have an undisturbed marriage with your wife. I'm sorry, but you still should be afraid. I'm sorry that you will continue to be murdered by your lovers. I'm sorry that your rage will be stuck in your teeth. I'm sorry that you will continue to be trampled on by mediocrity. I'm sorry that disappointed but not surprised will still be your mantra. I'm sorry that something broke deep inside you and that your sisters are the ones who broke it. I'm sorry that the glass ceiling has turned to granite. I'm sorry that you will be martyred with no memorial to speak your name. I'm sorry that you will not, anytime soon, lay down your swords and continue in peace. This one was just published in a regional anthology called Currents in the Electric City, a Scranton anthology. And it's titled What Plants Must Hear. On Prescott Street, there was a pear tree in the backyard. Behind it, a couple of drunks in a tumble-down house. Their icy voices every night would ramble and drop onto the fiesta of portulacas, clamoring over the cinder blocks, separating yard from yard. In the evenings, I would sit on the back porch, feeling embarrassed, being dragged into the intimacy of their violence. One night, as the sun dropped, so did my stomach. Tied knots was a revelation. My neighbors, the plants too, could hear my parents cursing God and each other. The disharmony fleeing through the clapboard, clawing through asphalt shingles, growing with the lilacs. I wondered if, in the shifting of evening winds, the murder of words would finally perch in the pear tree with the relentless crows pecking at the ripening fruit. For what did I know about what plants could hear? What did I know of this place I called home? Next one is hollow. I was born with a hollow to my bones that I stuffed with rosary beads and pinewood shavings from windows planed with Dad's own two hands, with guts of crucified deer and pheasants swinging from our black cherry tree, startled faces twisting above puddles of their own stale blood, with a balled up white apron spotted with spaghetti sauce, jammed in the back of an S&H green stamp drawer. Cardinal feathers that remind me of my mother's fuzzy red hair, with chunks of frozen water all dewy-eyed, snitched from a wooden ice house on a dirt road. After Mass, with wedding confetti in white netting tied with a bow, the pink so unforgiving no tooth could crack to the stale almond shrouded inside, the Sunday smell of poppy stogies and dago red. Because I know you could never love something so heavy, I empty them, but I dread I will drift off the earth with nothing to hold me down. Maybe I can evolve into a sparrow wearing a black mantilla I found at the bottom of her Sunday purse. Lots of mom poems tonight, I guess, really. Salt in her wounds. I call her mother. I am salt in her wounds. That she married him, didn't know he was a drunk. That her father laughed at her wanting to go to school. That her brother was the boy. That her sister was the pretty baby. Two ghost babies still clinging to her, and damned me, I, needing to be fed, I, pulling the life from her womb, her breasts, her calloused, Cloroxed hands. I rubbed her wounds daily and grew as big as Lot's wife, a reminder of injustice. Once I walked the tarred streets, past the strip-ins and the comb banks to the factory where she sewed, for ladies who could afford those dresses, ladies who had time to bathe in bubbles, who drank champagne in fluted goblets, who married men who weren't drunks. She sewed hunched until her lungs turned brown, tight with fibers that wouldn't be coughed up. And all she could do was lick me to stay thirsty, subsisting longer after she had already died. I am a salt lick. This one is a memory of Christmas when I was about 12 years old, I think. Crescent-shaped dents in the palm of my hand is the title. Christmas morning, 1968. 1. Irish coffee at dinner. The aroma of roasted beans can't mask that smell. That smell. Whiskey. Silver moon harassing me back to that night so cold. Our old station wagon upside down in a crick, wheels crawling at the sky. She said, 2 a.m. on the other end of our line. She said, probably a heart attack. 2. My mother presses the rosary into my hand. I clutch them from my flowered nightgown, mouth the recitation. The police cruiser slides on the dark, icy black roads of Dewshore. Mother's silence scares me, the 25-mile ride and crescent-shaped dents in the palm of my hand. 3. I don't need to see the bloodshot eyes, the stench of you, enough. Familiar misery drops in the creases around my mother's eyes. She pivots like a soldier in retreat. The door slams closed behind us. Click, catches in my brain. How many trips? How many times? I shrug. She sighs. We don't pray. She pushes me ahead. My last one for a little levity now that I've depressed everybody. It's called Penis Anyone? I wish I had a detachable penis. Come on, ladies, don't you? I wouldn't want one all the time, you see. I love my vagina, little pearl that she is, except when she blushes pink, like when the drunken cousin at the reunion says he'd like to motorboat me. What? It was just a joke. I could whip it out when the power tie guy talks over me for the third time in the boardroom. I could excuse myself, attach it, and say, hey, look, I have a club card. Can you hear me now? Well, if I had a penis, I really wouldn't need to ask, would I? Or put it on when Professor Corduroy jacket with suede patches said Plath was so melancholy. I could challenge him to a duel, hold it with 2 hands, hoist it at him screaming, I'll cut a bitch. I could have the occasional pissing contest with all the helpful young gents who warn me not to get hysterical, or wear it in the evening so my husband doesn't have to mansplain how I need to turn on the satellite to watch Netflix. You know, give my tired eyes a rest from rolling up into the back of my head so much. Then at night, I could wrap it carefully in flannel, lock it away in a gun safe so it didn't go off willy-nilly. Hurt someone, unless I wanted it to. But logistics. Would I carry it in my purse? Keep it in the glove compartment? Open carry? Would I have to buy a shoulder harness? Tuck it in my waistband? Do I need a permit? Would the balls be extra? Accoutrement? Maybe I'll just change my name to Dick, grow a stash, stuff my crotch with tube socks, and scratch.
All right. What an ending. Oh my God.
Levity,
Levity.
bring in the levity.
Yay. That was
Thank you guys.
incredible.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
All
I've
right.
been on a break, but I'm coming back shortly.
Yay.
Yeah.
Glad to hear it. All right. Well, thank you, Bonnie Markowski. And next up from the West Coast, which Dan Liberthson, I forgot to say, was also from the West Coast. Also from the West Coast down in LA is Richard Modiano. Hey, Richard. Unmute yourself and everything will be cool as can be. There we go. Beautiful. All right, well, take it away, Richard. So good to see you.
Good to see you guys too.
Okay.
We worked at a shitty job that paid good money and bonded over our hatred of the boss. And I got to know Royce during lunch breaks when we went to his favorite place, Ara's Armenian Hamburgers, a biker favorite, A biker favorite eatery, I learned when Royce told me he was in Satan's Slaves before he was busted, which explains why guys came up to him and said things like, "Didn't I do time with you in Quinton?" "No, man, that wasn't me." "Say, wasn't you at that rumble at the Coffin Cheaters in Purdue?" "Bro, I missed that one." After work one day, he took me to the dive bar near his house in the BVN, Barrio Fanais. In the dim glow of the bar's neon light, he ordered 2 buds in bottles, the caps left on, so he had his own church key, he told the guy behind the bar, who didn't ask any questions. And by way of explanation, he said to me, "Dude, this gives you a fighting edge." "Yeah?" "Yeah. Smack the mofo across the bridge of his nose, hurts like hell and bleeds like a faucet, but you won't kill him." He popped the caps and took a swig, and I followed, and we sat in the bar's shadows, Royce's stories spilling out like a loose tap, tales of old haunts, old fights, and the time he lost a friend to a blade too quick for a bottle. He looked at me and said, "You ever fight for anything?" I shrugged, trying to measure the weight of my own life against the stories in his eyes. "Not like you, man," I said. But he just laughed, a low rumble, a sound that carried all the ghost of the BVN. When everything is for sale, when everything is about profit, when everything is about money, when everything is about competition, when everything is drowned in the icy water of egotistical calculation, you can't have a world worth living in. You can't sustain a world in which life can continue. And America's once vaunted democracy haunts the land like the ghost of Hamlet's father, moaning in horror, while those who hear the shrieks are treated like madmen. I saw it going down. I'm an old man now, but I saw he was no good. She didn't, alas. He had a good front, but the reality was he was a conquest-seeking so-called libertine. She told me all about it, the old guy who treated her like the equal she is. But she is younger, hopeful and eager, not yet cynical. We sat in the hipster-free anarchist info shop, and she told me she hadn't made love for an agitating 3 days. "He's gone," she said. Good riddance to bad rubbish, I thought, though I spoke the anodyne, maybe it's for the best. Maybe you're right. I knew I was right. What am I going to do? The question didn't require an answer. She's smart. She knows her own heart. She knows that she let herself be conned. And she's too smart to let it happen again. And so I cliched, "Looks can be deceiving." He answered, "No shit, Pops." Missed the bus. Missed the bus again. Watched its tail lights blur, a comet fading in the morning fog. It slipped away, quiet as a breath, while I stood, feet planted in the same cracked pavement, my heart a beat too slow. The world moves, cars hum by, tires slick on wet streets, but I'm stuck between seconds, in the pauses where the day hasn't started and the rush hasn't come. People just don't see me, just brush past, staring into their phones, faces glazed with hurry. But I wait in the space they leave behind. There's something beautiful in it, though, in standing still while everything spins, the rhythm of missed moments, the hum of engines carrying others away. The day can wait. Her eyes flickered the question. Yes, I'll come to her bed and stroke her thighs and savor her moans. I'll inhale her scent and intoxicate myself on her pheromones. I'll taste her mouth and skin, caress her from head to foot. I'll do whatever she wants, kiss her wherever she wants, caress her wherever she wants, if only she takes me away from the realm of Thanatos and buries me in Eros. In the stillness of the night she comes, through forests thick with midnight dew, cloaked in starlight, Aradia, the witch queen. Her season is now. Her eyes are moons, her breath a storm. In her hands the old magics arise. The earth trembles as she strides the world, with ancient spells in her outstretched hand. Long were the days of Shadow's rule, but now she walks free, unbound, triumphant, wild, with fire in her veins. Her voice is a song that no man silences. The tides obey her whispered word. The winds her name have long since carried. Mountains groan and rivers rush. She is the pulse of the world's dark heart. The crones rise up, their chants ignite, a blaze of power, bold and hot for Aradia, return to lead the way where witches dance and mortals bow. A child reaches for her mother. The odor of cordite fills the air, and smoke hides the sun, and dust settles on the bright red coloniat, born with the child, growing with the flower, flowering with the child. I hear reasoning and screams. They have calculated the sorrow that a child can bear, so much dread without vomiting, so many tears without dying. There is a sound of footsteps walking through the rubble, black and blessed with horror. They are coming to uproot the flower. They are coming to vilify the child.
Thank you, Richard. Wow, very strong moving pieces there, and it's really great to hear you read them aloud in a group and knowing where they come from. I remember I was on the receiving end of some of those, so thank you for, it's so good to hear your voice saying them. So
Good to see you.
beautiful. All right. Okay, we are moving right along, and next, please welcome our fearless leader, Marianne Murray. Hi,
Hey,
Marianne.
everyone. Thank you.
So great.
Yeah, so I want to echo what everyone else said about this group. And, I'm just so appreciative of all of you and this practice because, I always find something to find in the writing every day. So with that, here's my collection of poems. So I thought I would start with a poem about poetry. So it's called 3 Cheers. I shook the can, rattled it around some, but I never found a poem, so I left it alone. I found a poem written in stone. What cherished hopes lie buried here? The grief vibrating. The poem came along from words found lying around. They didn't have a home until they had one. The lady has woken, licks a paw, swipes an eye, and refreshed enough to subvert the house rules. On the counter, with good cause. Deserved some wet food. Hanging out with the French relations. French, how it rolls off the tongue and canoodles with the inner ear, twirling its mustache, tipping its nose, never letting you forget it will always sound better than you as you sit there with your flat-assed English, trying to keep up, quacking like a duck. Avalanche. My sister and me, we clean out my father's bedroom closet, teeming with stuff, the dust. It was not as gross as a dumpster fire, didn't smell any weirder. The airy black stains spreading in the corner didn't scare us any further than a slow-moving train wreck, decades of neglect, festering in the dark. Wasteland. Transferring things from the old car to the new. First, I'm thinking, why all the pens? Have I been lifting pens from Chase banks and UPS stores at large, completely unawares? And then, once again, thrown in my face is the pile of waste generated by me. Broken hairbands, sunglasses, wrappers, tissues, crud, and plastic, not to mention the old car, not to mention the new car. Oh, the news. Funny as a busted leg, a knock in the head coming at you like a speeding right hook. Pick your catastrophe, a whole book. Sandman. The life of a cat, that I could ever be so relaxed as a resident of the outside world that I should seek a patch of sun and wrap myself into a ball and sleep, restful, untroubled sleep. Half-lives. I read where 643,000 people go bankrupt in the US each year due to medical bills, compared to 0 in the rest of the Western world. Look out for patches of ice. Don't go slipping on any banana peels, of which there are plenty of in this world. Avoid the usual sins: tobacco, sugar, butter, alcohol, and hope for the best. We aren't meant to last. Thanksgiving. We marched out the turkey and supporting vegetables, downed glasses of wine and various species of pie and delectable, argued just a bit. If the requisite thanks were given, I missed it. The holly and the ivy. A rime of ice on the windows, the bird bath, the lawn. Brittle, sparkly crystals sparkling, showing the world for what it is. Like everything could break. And ending it with this poem. Heaven is empty. Every year, the same indomitable human spirit, throwing up cheers and fireworks for the freshly minted year. The same indomitable spirit that this year will be any better. Thank you.
Thank you, Marianne. All right, that was fantastic. So good to hear you read out loud, and after seeing your poems throughout the course of the last 3 years, it's fantastic to hear you read them. They're wonderful. Thank you so much.
Likewise, yes.
Great. Hope you stay warm. All right. And next up, directly from New York City, Lower East
A mere
Side.
stone's throw away.
Yes, please welcome Puma Pearl. Hi, Puma.
Hi, and
All right.
thank you, everybody. And this reading makes me wish I could read everybody's poems every day.
Yeah.
You hear any music in the background? It's because my dog Faye is like obsessed with a new squeaky toy, so she might accompany me. This first one is called Like Sunrise. Johnny Cakes disappeared into the sunrise, and Ponyboy wrote the book. I had forgotten that Stay Gold Ponyboy was from the Robert Frost poem, Neither Gold Can Stay. We have no religion in my household, but we did share the Outsiders, the Beastie Boys, Friday Night Videos, Buffy, Saturday Night Live, Run DMC, The Breakfast Club, Stand By Me, Sesame Street, The Karate Kid, and Cyndi Lauper. We might not have been very functional, but nobody was ever abused by a movie. Except for that time I had to carry my daughter out of the theater when she thought E.T. was dead. It was borderline child abuse inflicted by Spielberg. But I made up for the trauma by introducing her to her crush, Ralph Macchio, a year later. Unfortunately, she fainted upon first meeting him, and we had to revive her and reintroduce her. Years later, an electrical fire in her apartment took almost all of her belongings, except for a framed Cuba and his teddy bear program signed by Macchio, Robert De Niro, and Burt Young. It was sitting on top of a pile of rubble, untouched. Of course, we had no business letting her see that play at the age of 5, but sitting in the public theater was a lot safer than dealing with the characters it was based on, some of whom frequented our apartment on East 3rd Street. But on the other hand, there was always Cyndi Lauper and the Beastie Boys to depend on. The glass is half full. One positive aspect of memory loss is that I can watch Ink Master seasons repeatedly without a clue of who wins. And I don't know if it's really memory loss or just too much crowded into one head, but I'm learning more and more about aging, whether or not I choose the option. It was once about cosmetic changes. I hate that wrinkle. I hate my neck. Look at that sagging. Where did my butt go? Recently, the physical aspects have taken me by surprise. Changes more sudden than imagined. Walking uphill and downstairs are new challenges, and a positive attitude will not cure osteoarthritis. Every deficit has come back to haunt me. Anita Pallenberg walked the runway with a cane. She also relapsed after a second hip replacement. I didn't think about this 2 years ago. The pandemic acted as a bridge towards seniority. Navigating a medical bill via email, a young man asked if I needed support uploading my documents. I'm sorry, I just lost my poem. Wait, give me a second here. Shit. Okay, here we go. A young man asked me if I needed support uploading my documents. Maybe a niece or a nephew could help you, he suggested. I told him I know everything there is to know on the subject of health insurance, having worked in hospitals for decades, and I do not find the concept of submitting forms in any way challenging. Then I uploaded my forms. He was humble, but unapologetic. It is not only my date of birth that defines me. My face is my passport to invisibility. Idiots condescend to me in stores and on the streets. But condescension never translates into assistance. I still stand on buses and subways while faster, more agile young people race me for seats. This is not an age I thought I would reach, and my family is cursed with longevity. But if I find the need for a cane, I will choose leopard and emulate Anita, hopefully without the relapse. Okay. This one is called Mix Up, Shook Up, and obviously dedicated to Willie DeVille. When Thanksgiving dinner was supposed to be on Friday, but we changed it to the next weekend, it became more like early Christmas than late Thanksgiving, and maybe it would wind up being lunch, as long as everyone would recover from the latest dreck circulating the city, causing havoc and fucking up holidays. It's no wonder that I am mixed up and shook up. I've barely spoken in person to anyone since I fell down a week ago, except for my daughter who takes the dog out and shops for me sometimes. And I've spoken to my neighbor who brought me a plate on Thanksgiving, and also to the other neighbors who sold me my still unopened coquito and uneaten pasteles. And I had several telephone conversations with human beings instead of the usual text and social media comments. But I wake up mixed up. I never know what day it is. This morning, I lay in bed obsessing over the stairs at the Beacon Theater until I realized I'm not going to the Beacon tonight. I'm going to Otto's late this afternoon. So I obsessed about the logistics of getting to Otto's instead and mixed up the daily prompts again. But I finally washed my hair, even though it looks like shit because I got distracted while drying it. I called some people worse off than me. Mostly they didn't answer. I thought about Jesse Malin while I obsessed over the Beacon. His fortitude and bravery humble me, but do not give me any more courage or optimism than I had before. I don't become a better person because someone else is a superlative person. I'm pretty sure today is Saturday, But what do I know? Maybe, like Willie, the empty streets will heal me. But for now, I'm just a mixed up, shook up girl. Oh my God. Okay, sorry. I tried to do this so efficiently, which means, of course, I'm having logistical problems, but okay now. Okay. This one is called In the Wilderness. I had a few outdoorsy years in my late teens and 20s. We loved to roam Prospect Park after midnight, pitch black, easy to get lost. The pot and acid increased our excitement. Some cross-country trips, climbing mountains in the Rockies, up and down the Grand Canyon, sleeping under New Mexico stars or in tents pitched randomly off the main roads. A year living upstate, 115 acres in a crumbling house, all for $95 monthly due to family feuds. 4 seasons spent there. Grew a few tomatoes, bought a pig named Portia, and it was time to go back to the civilization of the Lower East Side, 1975. I did not stay around to eat any part of Portia. My wilderness does not extend past my mind. I get lost in Central Park and always circle around, unable to find the place I want to exit, and several times have grabbed a cab to get to my car or subway station. My wilderness is made of torn up streets. The drilling, the dirt, the East River Park destruction, trees falling, grass turned to concrete, steel fences. My wilderness is my dog playing ball in the handball court behind the signs stating no pets. The half-mile walk to Trader Joe's or the nearest subway. The scaffolding where we used to sit. The guy who punched me in the head before hundreds of young women also got punched in the head. That's the kind of pioneer I have become. My wilderness is a sliver of sunrise between the buildings. The full moon crossing Houston Street, the rats ruffling through black bags of garbage in the schoolyard, the creatures my dog hunts beneath the ferry, strangers ringing bells at 3 a.m. My wilderness is the Bronx, Queens, Brooklyn, and Staten Island, Coney Island, Yankee Stadium, anywhere I cross a bridge in the wilderness of the still raging New York City. And this last one is called Domino Nights, and thanks to the encouragement of this group, I wrote this poem, which was chosen as the poem of the day by the American Academy of Poets. Domino Nights. On Water Street, scaffolds envelop the buildings. Wire screens surround the benches, iron fences line the street. You must walk a hot summer block in either direction to cross. To the east, construction continues. To the west, trucks sit, waiting. Approaching or leaving, it feels like a detention center without passports or means of escape. Late nights on Water Street, beneath the scaffolding, behind the steaming sidewalks and the screens and the fences, the men set up the dominoes table, and their friends watch them play, awaiting their turns. We wave on our way to walk the dogs or coming back from returning home in the humid air. There are no passers-by on Water Street, no loitering without intent or purpose. But I will reply to the questions they might have asked had they existed. Why, they might wonder, do the men sit at a bridge table in the stifling heat, beneath scaffolds, behind screens and fences? Surely there are air-conditioned apartments where they might socialize in El Capicu. Because, I would answer, it is our street. This is our Lower East Side that we breathe. This is our space where neighbors smile as they pass by and call out, Otra vez, you're still at it, as time slowly propels us closer to wherever we are headed. But until we get there, the table is set for another night of apocalyptic dominoes. Thank you.
Hey, Puma!
Puma.
Wow, poem of the day for American Academy of Poets. That's really incredible.
It might even change to
Congratulations.
Poem of the day. Poem of the
Puma
Puma
the
the
day.
day.
Puma the
Might change
day.
it.
Yay, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure reading your work. All right. So we have two more readers tonight. And next up, please welcome Nicca Ray. Hi, Nicca.
Hello, hello. It's so great to be here.
You
Wow, what
take
a
it away.
great reading. What a great reading. I'm so honored to be a part of this group. And I've taken a break, but I'm coming back. So the first poem, Write a Conceit. Friends, a river streaming through the mountain of my life. The lows, the highs, the curves, the straight and narrow. Friends following me upstream, streaming through the mountain creeks, traveling down to the valley below and up the steepest trail to the top of the mountain, standing just before the sun. Friendships long and solid, the rock beneath my feet. Gloves off. I'm tired of fighting. So what, she did me wrong. The list of grievances goes long. I'm tired of fighting. Those, I'm sorry, those resentments piled high. I knocked them down, clearing my head. I'm tired of fighting. So what, she did me wrong. I can't sleep at night. All the things she said, wrapping my brain. I'm tired of fighting, remembering those words for too long. The sting of them, the tears. I'm tired of fighting, swinging the bat. I'm sorry, my eyes are freaking me out. Twice bitten. The first time I was bit by a man professing his love, no, wait. I didn't want to share that. Forget I even said that. There was never any man, let alone two. I have never been twice bitten. I swear there was never a man or two or even three, if you want to know the truth. No, wait. Truth is what I'm withholding. It's my prerogative to be cagey regarding my life. Twice bitten. That's all I'll say. Okay, okay. There was a time when I was twice bitten by a man professing his love. He left a poisoned apple on my heart. A little bit of sleep. Some of you know I don't sleep. I wake up at like 2 or 3 in the morning, and that's when I write poems. So a little bit of sleep. If I could just if I could, it would be so simple if only I could sleep a little, or at least once in a while, sleep through the night, just a little. If I could just if I could. If you could spare just a smidgen of shut eye, it would be so kind. Drinks and nibbles, life of the party. I'm thinking of a Dorothy Parker cocktail party every time he opens his mouth. I throw back another vodka gimlet until I'm so drunk all I can do is walk, if you can call my stagger a walk. across the room, stand in front of him. He's wearing a dark blue crushed velvet suit. Look into his deep brown eyes, and when he finishes his sentence, I take his hand in mine, bring it to my mouth, and start to nibble on his fingers. This does not make me the life of the party. No, this makes me person not wanted, person thrown out of the host's Greenwich Village brownstone and told never to show my face in this town again. So I raise my middle finger in the air, knowing I'll be calling them in the morning, apologizing profusely, not knowing what got into me, certainly not 5 vodka gimlets in a row, and sweet-talking myself back into their good graces. As for Mr. Blue crushed velvet suit, he snuck out of the party and chased after me, saying I was the most interesting thing to happen to him in months, and would I like to go and grab a couple of drinks and a nibble, to which I replied, your place or mine. Okay. Now, all is not lost. All is not lost. All that has been stolen and never retrieved is not lost. Cells renew, memories fade, bright spots flicker throughout the day. Friendships build, the laughter comes. Now life is fuller than a full moon shine. Reaching deeply into her story, a treasure found. Girls upon girls upon girls, on a pilgrimage to secure childhood wonder and joy. All that has been stolen, all those broken hearts, all the young women claiming their bodies as their own. What was stolen is not lost, not lost. Abstraction. I hung my limbs on the clothesline, hanging between the buildings in my Soho neighborhood. Through the bathroom window, I watched body parts dying on a line where underwear hung. And it is written in the stars. Your name above mine, below mine, between me, my body, yours within me. We are fate destined by the stars written inside twinkles of light, sky above, our bodies shine. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Nicca Ray.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Been a while. It's so exciting. All right. Take care and stick around. Hold on. We have one more reader tonight. And I would just like to, let everybody know, again, this is the a daily poetry writing group. Anybody who is out there watching, you're welcome to start your own daily poetry writing group. It's a great way to work out a practice. And it's kind of like the way Karen Hildebrand explained it first. She's been watching the whole show, by the way. The way she explained it first is that it's kind of like a jazz artist. They practice their scales over and over again, and pretty soon when you're doing solos, the scales are able to be incorporated into your creative work, and it comes more naturally. That's what I find is really just fantastic about this group. So we are going on to our final reader, and that is Will Walker. Here, hey Will, how you doing?
Hey, hi, I'm your sub from San Francisco. So
Right on.
you
Okay.
can kind of think of these as palate cleansers, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Cogito ergo zoom. How many times can we do this? School chums from over 50 years ago, telling bad jokes, gossiping, swapping war stories, though none involving real war, catching up on family history. This can't go on, I think. And so every hour is new and surprising fun, unhinged banter, 3 minds as close to play as they now get, and love it. Exercises for poets. Start with a pun, doing a few chin-ups. Move on to curling a few light metaphors. Maybe mix in another pun, asking what's a metaphor. Try out a simile like a walk in the park. Proofread a block or two of the neighborhood, picking up the trash. Celebrate at the pub with an inebriated soliloquy. All right, this one's it's called Borborygmus. That's stomach rumble. Borborygmus. Tonight I learned the gurgling of my stomach is part of the Buddha's orchestra, the music of life. So charming and fine. Tomorrow I may learn a fart is part of the tuba section, but on occasion may migrate to percussion. Snoring then may mostly hover among the basses, while an ordinary slow breath is a swipe of a brush on a cymbal. Where does the sound of children's laughter hover? We know the Buddha seats them in a special section, or maybe lets the little ones wander, since this is the music of life, not art, and chaos is conductor of the Buddha's orchestra. Here's another pretty self-explanatory one. This is called They Don't Celebrate Xmas in the Pharmacy Aisle. Nobody wraps up my Lanta in green and slaps a bow on it, or loads up on extra strength Advil for stocking stuffers. Santa and his crew of dutiful reindeer never hover over the neatly stacked boxes of fleet enemas. No shoppers comb the aisle for that special orthopedic device, perfect for helping to rip open lavish gifts or drop any hefty fruitcakes in the trash. It's all business and only that, straight on through St. Paddy's Day and July 4th, Halloween, and New Year's Eve, which is why I love me some pharmacy aisles, always lit with too much neon, promising only maybe some relief, no celebrations, no hint of angels we have heard on high. Okay. It's called Collecting My Thoughts. I'll start with the ones like high bush blueberries in summer, a ripe crop that's easy pickings and delicious, even leaving a fine violet stain on the fingers. We'll then move on to the ones like stones in the tide, well worn and beautiful until they dry and turn respectable and plain. Next, the broken ones that invite repair, remaining perhaps functional or otherwise strange artifacts of days gone by. And then the ones broken beyond repair, maybe even difficult and painful to sweep up and dump. But I'll start with those ones tasting as fresh as blueberries right off the bush. Did I miss something? Sorry. No, that's all of them. Okay, and this is the last one. This is my current version of a mic drop. It's based on the notion that angels, when they get depressed, they come to earth, and it's kind of like slumming for them. And it's based on a phrase from AA, lower companions is kind of like what we're all purported to take to get friendly with when we're drinking. Lower companions, the angels come slumming, and I'm the best company they can find. He'll do, they say. We saw him do a good deed. It's been a while, but still. And his neighbor called him a gentleman. Well, almost a gentleman. We can sprinkle stardust and he'll lose his mind and stagger as if besotted, raving about the starry dynamo of the night. God will watch him carom down the avenue and bless the whole of creation, and we'll go weak in the knees and think again, we are the motherfucking A1 best celestials in the whole goddamn universe. The end.
Hey, thank
All right,
you, Will. Okay, well, we're gonna end up by bringing everybody up here. Please just say your name and Peter, go ahead and start. This
What
was
am I doing?
say your name. Oh, wait, we have one more thing. We just Peter wanted to just do a quick thing here with one of his favorite prompts of the oops. One of his favorite prompts of the whole era. So here we go with Peter with a very short final piece.
This was a prompt from Matthew, who at first I thought it was, what is he talking about? Where the hell is he coming from? But we got some fun out there, and just to think about the prompts, and you're not stuck with anything, just be inspired however you can. So it's called numismatist. Now, I mean, come on, look at everybody here, numismatist, get out of here. But anyhow, here he goes. I sat across the bar from this cat who seemed all right. So I gulped down my second drink and said hello, because I was bored, and got a third drink. He waved a howdy. He replied, I asked, what is it that you do? He replied, I'm a numismatist. I squinted. Doesn't that have something to do with collecting old coins? He answered, well, yes, it can, but what I collect are metals. You mean metals like iron? No, more like an iron cross. Oh, that kind of metal. Really? Really? I squinted more. So what do you do with this? Like, wear them? He nodded, yes, I'm wearing them now. Where? I asked. He said, under my clothes. I stick the pins straight through my skin. You want to see? I said no, and down my third, jumping up with, gotta run. How did I ever think this cat was all right? Oh, right. My judgment must have been impaired somewhat by alcohol this early in the afternoon.
There you go.
Numismatist.
All right. So that was our first reader, Peter Carlaftes.
I'm back again.
I followed him. My name's
followed
Cat Georges.
If you stop following me, I'll have
And
you.
then who was after me?
After you
Say
was
your name, say your name.
Oh, me. I remember. Matthew Hupert.
Yay, Matthew. And then
LeCroy.
Hi, Jean LeCroy.
Yay! And then
Dan.
Dan Liberthson. Yay! Followed by
Bonnie Markowski, and this is
Yay!
Cleo.
And then Richard Modiano. Woo! And
Marianne Murray.
woo! Yay! And then
Puma Pearl.
yay! And
Nicca Ray.
yay! And finally, we wrapped up with.
Will Walker.
All right. Thank you, everybody watching in Facebook land. We're gonna go offline now, but we really appreciate you being here, and try to write every day. It's fun.